Appreciate everyone coming on to the call today to learn about how to create these application portals through the NITRO Studio interface. And it's actually quite easy. I was preparing for this webinar. I was kind of surprised how easy it was to get all the elements in place that you really need to. Of course, there's the standard SharePoint elements. Not SharePoint. Yeah, there are some standard SharePoint elements, but we're doing a lot with Nitro on top of the SharePoint page and getting it going for an application portal. So quite a few. I think I'll show you some things that you might not be aware of. But I was actually a few things I wasn't aware of. So I think there'll be some new stuff in here for you guys, and it'll be great. So with that in mind, I will just a couple, housekeeping items. We do have the questions and answers box in the panel for GoToWebinar. Feel free to pop in a question, comment at any point in time. Let me know how things are going. If you can hear me, can't hear me, can't see my screen. I'm not sharing my screen right now, just so you're aware. But if you're not seeing my screen or something, just put a note in the questions box. That's kind of our main communication method between you guys and myself to see how it's going. We also have Scott and Amanda on the call today to help answering questions that you guys have, and they'll pipe in with any comments or questions or concerns as we go along. Maybe some points that I missed during the webinar that they want to bring up, different things like that. So you might hear them chime in every once in a while, but yeah, again, for the most part, most of you know me. You've been to these webinars a number of times. My name is James Restivo with Croquet Software. Been here for going on 9 years, I think it'll be this year. So it's been a while, almost a decade, and seen a lot of great changes and a lot of great things happen with the Croquet and as we go. So excited you guys are on the call today, and excited to show you what we have. So one note I will point out before I share my screen is that we're going to be looking at a lot of this stuff from the perspective of the modern UI. However, a lot of this stuff can also be done through the perspective of the classic UI. So I know some of you on the call today are using on-premises with the classic interface. I will address that. I will talk about how to do these things in the classic UI as well as the modern UI, but mainly going to be showing the modern UI because that's what I have set up for my demo environment. So I do want to make a note of that. There will be applicable, a lot of stuff will be applicable to the classic UI as well, just done in a slightly different way. And I'll point out what those differences where they apply. So with that in mind, looks like we've finally got a few more people jumping on. That's great. And we'll go ahead and share my screen. Make sure I share the right one here. Hang on a second and get the correct one showing. All right, perfect. Okay, so you all should be seeing my screen now. Just a simple IT portal, basic SharePoint page, modern page. If you're not seeing that, let me know. And we're going to start out from kind of the standard SharePoint page here. So what I've done actually ahead of this call was create a subsite within this Nitro Workshops site collection. And I called it IT portal. And I activated Nitro for that. So you see the Nitro activation over here. I got the Nitro apps and the Nitro branding, which we applied. So I did those two steps before getting on the call today to prepare for this webinar. And I didn't want you to have to sit and wait and watch Nitro being activated. You've done it a number of times yourselves. I'm sure it's pretty standard process. But basically what you do is you go create a subsite. Now, where does the subsite need to live? Honestly, it could be anywhere. It doesn't, as long as it's within your tenant or within your web application, it doesn't even have to be on the same site collection as where your backend is. So just back up for a second. What we're basically trying to do here is create an interface for end users to interact with that is not giving them the whole access to the whole site. You're not giving them access to everything you have in what we would consider or call the backend. So in kind of a common scenario, classic scenario, we have what you would call an IT help desk in a site somewhere, and this is actually what we're going to be using as our backend for the webinar today. And then you want to give them some kind of interface. I know out of the box we do have these portals, and I'll kind of show you what that looks like. This is the portal interface out of the box. We're going to create something somewhat similar to this, actually, with a lot of the same elements that you see on here. And we're actually going to be able to get some of the same branding on here as well. So pretty much what you're seeing on the screen, you could create using the tools and tricks and tips I'm giving you today. So you can create from scratch and have it apply to a backend. And again, that backend could be within the same site collection, in a different site collection, as another subsite. Either one of those options is available. So today I'm actually going to show you that a scenario where it's in a different site collection, and we're going to use this as our backend. So you'll see we're in a demo 5 site, demo 5 site collection in this IT professional site. And we're going to be creating our portal over here, which is under the Nitro Workshop site collection with a different subsite over here. So we'll show all that. Now, when you first start building out your portal, you have to think about what do you want your users to interact with on the page? What do you want them to see? We're going to use our kind of standard out of the box portal as a template, as an idea. And one thing you might want them to see is a couple buttons for actions. And that's what we're going to accomplish with our link tiles. So we're going to use that tiles and dials web part. We're going to create a link tile, a couple link tiles to give the user something to interact with on the portal. So we'll kind of start out with the first step, go over to tiles and dials, and we're going to create link tiles. Now you could do dials, you could do other tiles as well. It's entirely up to you. But we're going to go to our link tile. We're going to create a link tiles group called quick tickets. And I'm just going to call it quick tickets like that. And we'll leave everything else kind of standard for now. I'm going to make a few more tweaks and adjustments to make it look good. Just some things you might want to consider when you first start creating these link tiles. So we're going to go to new link tile. And the first thing you'll notice is that you have an option for showing it to all users or to specify groups. That is a great feature of the link tile web part, is that you can decide who sees that tile at one point in time based on what group they're in. So it could be one or more groups that you have in here. And we'll for this purpose, we're just going to show it to everyone. And we're going to do new ticket form. Or actually what we can call it is submit new ticket, because that's what the end user will see on the interface. And the URL, so what are they going to click over to? Well, we have to go get that URL from somewhere, and that URL is going to be living on our backend site. So I have to click back over here to this site, and the quick way to get that new form link is go into your Nitro form, and you're going to be presented right away with the different forms that are available within this list. And you notice that there's a copy URL option. Well, it's as simple as that. Hit copy URL, page URL copy to clipboard, come back over to your link tiles configuration and copy and paste it right in. Control V, and you'll see that it's got the CCS new form indicator. It's got the form key on there. That's the list squid from our list on the backend site. And you'll see there's no issues. It's going directly to that backend site. We're going to give a pop-up dialog because we don't want anyone to get access to, again, we don't want them to have access to that backend site. Now, one thing I did here is I gave them access to the form that typically is there for your users who are going to be interacting with the forms. And we've created a portal ticket already here, but you might want to go and do the same thing. If you want to have a simplified interface for your users to interact with the form, maybe there's certain things that have to happen on the back end. Maybe not. Maybe you want to give them access to the whole form. Either way is fine. But if you want to create different forms, you can just choose which URL to which form you want to put in there. And we could actually put this to the portal ticket rather than to the ticket, so that we have a different interface than what others might see with the same list when interacting with the same list. So we can actually come in here, delete that, and then paste in our portal ticket form instead of the ticket form. That's fine. We could do as a pop-up dialog. The color schemes here, I won't go through in great detail because I usually cover this in our Nitro training with tiles and dials. I'm just going to change around the colors, make them look a little nicer. And then I'm going to give it an interesting icon here. I think I could do something like, let's do sticky note. Sticky note, that's a good one. You can, go through and pick one that works for you. And the icon you want to typically put at the bottom, in the center, and at the bottom of that tile. I'll hit OK. And we can take a look at what it's looking like. Okay, we can make some further adjustments. But first, we're going to add another tile here. And kind of same idea we do with our IT help desk is we can pre-fill some information on that form if we wanted to. So if you wanted to, say, have a form that is opening up for hardware request, we could do make that note in here, hardware request. And now we update the URL. We can put in that same form key we had before, the same URL. And now we can add on at the end of it, and you may know this already, but if you don't, you can actually add on, pre-fill some information in the form by adding on some parameters at the end of this URL. So we could do portal ticket category. I know it's category 1, but we can go get that internal name from our tickets list over here, and simply go to the category list under application administration, and to get that information you want. So what was that internal name for that category? That's what we need to use in our ticket over here. So you can go get that information from the form, and then what category, the value, well, we know I'm going to use the number 3 because I went and looked that up, but you can get that information from your backend site. If you want pre-fill information, it's a lookup. You can put in the ID of the item to get that. That works for lookup columns. If you want to directly put in values, you can do that as well. So we could do something like this, where we say category equals 3 and description equals new hardware. I think that might work. I don't know. I usually don't like spaces in URLs, but we can just put that like that. So that's going to pre-fill some information for us, and we're going to go and give this a slightly different color. I like these kind of light pastel-y colors. They look good to me. And we can change the, actually I want to change the background color to be something like that. So do that. And then the text color would be, like, it could be black, dark gray, whatever you want it to be. So, these ticket configurations are kind of like, you go through and decide what you want, but essentially once you get the configuration going, I'm just going to do these couple here to get something on, something to show. We're going to do that. So center bottom, we're going to come over here, change the layout. We'll go to 150, and our text align, we'll put that in the center. And you can see what that looks like. You see now it looks a little better. Okay. Now, once we've configured our settings, we can go and add those to our page. Now, in the modern mode, which I'll show you in just a moment, you can directly go to that page, edit that page, and add in your web part and add in your settings. If you're in the classic mode, all you need to do is come over to the add tiles dial to pages and site option and select your page and submit it in. So nothing's going to come up here because I don't have any classic UI pages. This is looking for classic UI. I don't have any. It's a modern UI with site, so I don't have any classic UI. But if you did, this is where you'd find your link to the page to add your web part. So select your page, add your web part, or in the modern mode, come back over to your modern page, edit it, hit the plus button, and then search for that web part. So we're going to search for tiles. And we see link tiles right here. We can add that. And we're going to choose that quick tickets tile group that we just created. Okay, now we've added a web part onto our page. And I'm going to go ahead, whoops, I didn't mean to click that, pardon me. I'm actually going to go ahead and remove a lot of these standard SharePoint ones, so we can just get rid of those. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of documents. Let's get rid of news. Let's get rid of activity. So we can delete all that stuff, start out kind of blank, and republish. So now we're starting to add some UI elements to our page here. So we've got the quick tickets where we can open up the hardware request. I think I forgot to make it as a pop-up. That's my fault. I can go and change that setting. But the new ticket, let me refresh this. Will come up as a pop-up in the page. So you want to make sure you do that pop-up option to make sure you're not sending them to the backend. So if you're doing the tiles and dials, you want to make sure you do that. But we can add some other elements. Now let's say we wanted to leave this as is. Maybe this is fine for a landing page. Maybe we'll add a search web part on here. We can do that. Let's go ahead and add a search web part. And we're going to add that right under here. We're going to add list search. And we're going to republish because the list search settings come from right in the context of the web part itself. And again, if you're in the classic UI, simply come to the NITRO Studio interface and hit list search. And that's going to give you an option to add that list search web part to a page. And we'll go and just do some quick configurations here to get rid of that red text. And I'll just point it to search tickets. We can point it to our URL. You can see it's pointing to this URL, but I want to go ahead and point it to my backend, and we can do that just by simply clicking over to where the backend lives, copy that URL, and pop it in. And this automatically pulls back all the items from that site, so you can see it pretty immediately, actually. And pull up tickets, and we'll start to do views. It's just going to be my tickets. This is going to limit the search to just the my tickets view. That way you don't have to worry about people pulling up tickets that they shouldn't have access to. And we can leave it kind of simple like that. We'll just leave it really straightforward. Hit save. Of course, there's a lot more you can get into with each of these web parts, and that's a whole world unto itself that we're not going to get into today. But each of these web parts do have particular configurations you could get into in some detail. Now, this looks fine. All right, we'll leave this as our home page. This looks good. But let's say we wanted to create another page for them to view their tickets. So we can do that. So we can go create a new page, and we'll just use a blank page. And of course, you could do this in the classic mode, just create a page through Site Pages. And we'll give it a name called View My Tickets. All right, publish that. And then we want to copy this URL. So you want to make sure you copy your URL, copy your address, and have it somewhere to store for later reference, because otherwise, well, you can go to site contents and get the information if you want. But I like to add it. I actually like to add these to the quick launch over here on the left for now. View my tickets. So we're going to add that to our quick launch so we don't lose sight of it. And there it is on our side over here. Then we're going to edit this and add, well, we'll get rid of this text web part, and then we can add in a list view web part. So add in list view. But actually first, before I do that, I need to go and actually create a list view. And that's one thing about the portal versus the backend, is that you will need to create these settings on the portal site. So whether you're doing the tiles and dials, whether you're doing the list view setting, report setting, even let's roll up any of those that you're configuring, it has to be done on the site that where that portal is going to live. So we're going to do a list view here. We could just call it My Tickets and give that a definition. Now we have the option to specify that site URL. So again, we can go to our to that page, and let me get rid of that actually, and come over here. And pop that in. And go to our tickets list, and we'll do a view on My Tickets. And we leave that pretty much as is. There's a few other things I like to do. I like to fix the row height. I'll need row alternate colors. I like to hide all these buttons because I don't want my end users to have access to email, print, or list settings. That's great. We can hide all that stuff. Save those settings. And now I can come back to my View My Tickets screen and add my list view web part. And it'll pull up that setting we just configured and publish. So there we go. Now we have a couple different pages we can play with here. We have the home page where we have a couple web parts we've added, and we've got this View My Tickets page where they have some, they have some information about tickets they've submitted or that have been assigned or whatever. And you can drive through the list view, through the settings. You can drive what it is exactly that person should see on each page. So you can go ahead and create additional pages as needed and add web parts and build things out this way. If you wanted to add like a roll-up view, you could add that in here as well. I'm going to leave this for now because up to now, what we've basically been doing is something you guys should all be familiar with, which is creating Nitro settings in various web parts and adding them to pages, whether it's through the modern or the classic UI. But how do we take that a step further? Now we want to hide the quick launch. Now we want to change the look and feel of this site. And there's a couple different ways we can do that. One option we have in both classic and modern is to apply branding. So I'm going to do that part first, where we're going to add some branding, put some branding around this to hide certain elements. So we can go to our branding tool, and in the modern UI, I'll show you the classic UI next. But in the modern UI, you have options to hide all this extra stuff that you might not want users to access. And again, we're on a site over here, so maybe they can't really do much. They can't really access anything anyway, because everything, the actual guts of the program are on some other site collection. So that might be fine, but you still want to maybe manage what this looks like. So we can go through and hide a bunch of stuff. We're going to hide the app bar that appears over here. We're going to hide comments. We're going to do full page layout. I'll do like that. Suite navigation bar. We can collapse if we want to collapse this thing up here. And then ultimately we're going to hide this quick launch over here. Hide it, or then we're going to save those settings. There's a few quick things like that. Actually, I think I need to hide the header too. Let me get back into the settings and do that. And there we go, hide header. So that should give me a pretty basic page. I can click on the icon and get back to my home page and see what that looks like. And now you can see it's much more simplified interface, a much cleaner interface for users to interact with. I know we haven't done a lot on this page yet. We can add more to it, but through the tools you can build on this concept and build out your own types of portals. So this gives us a way to have kind of a portal interface. If you ever need to get back and change things, you can go add CCS mode equals 1 to your URL, and that brings everything back, all the elements, the quick launch, the other things. So you can go and edit these things as you go along, and it allows you to make adjustments. So ultimately, your end users will come in and they will not have that link, and they'll just see the what you give them access to, essentially. You can see even that header's gone now. Maybe I might actually want that back. Looks like crazy without it. So we can go back to the branding, and we can bring that header back. All right. Now, I said earlier that we're going to be able to get it to look more like the IT Help Desk portal, which I opened up somewhere over here. Here it is. But you see this has a particular element up here at the top, and it's got these particular menu items on here. What I'm going to show you next, we'll change the look and feel of the page to show those elements. So we're going to come over to our IT portal page, IT portal site. Doesn't matter which page. I'm going to create a new page, actually. Just going to create a new one. Create that. And I'm going to call this administration. Now there's this web part that's kind of haven't really talked about too much. I don't think we have too much about it, but I'll show you today. So it's a web part called site settings. And this site settings web part actually will change the look and feel of this portal. So all you really need to do is add a page with this site settings web part on it. I'm not sure why it's not. Okay, of course it's not adding for me during the actual webinar. It's not adding. It was working for me fine last night. But let me publish this first and then edit again. All right, again, we want to copy our address and maybe save it somewhere so we don't lose sight of it. Again, I could always go into site pages and my contents to get it, but I'll just put it over here. All right, let me edit this page again and see if I can get that site settings thing to add. All right, well, it worked fine for me last night. Not sure what's going on today. That is a conundrum. Okay. Let me try adding it somewhere else. All right, let me make a note to take a look at this. And while I'm waiting for my team to take a look at this, I'm going to show you how to modify the branding in the classic mode. So I did mention I was going to do that. And what I'm going to do is republish that and come back over to branding classic. Okay, so in the classic mode, there's a particular branding theme under the theme builder. And you hit that green button, try new theme builder. And then you select your theme. So you select theme, select portal theme, and then hit OK. So this is going to give you the same kind of look and feel that we have over here on this, and with some of the things that you can modify. So there will be a way to modify the menu items, and you can see that if we scroll down on to the header section, we can hit this custom button, and that's going to allow us to add menu items. So those menu items would be those ones that appear at the top of the page, and this is where you can modify them directly and show different headings, different menu items at the top of your page, and get it to look kind of more like this. So the secret sauce for the modern UI is add that site settings link, which I'll hopefully be able to show you soon. And the classic UI, this is how you would do it and get that the secret sauce to make it look like the portal we have out of the box. Now, if you like the look and feel without that, that's fine too. You don't have to have those menu links at the top. You can show the quick launch and manage the links over there, hide the links they shouldn't have access to. So there's a few different ways to do it if you don't want the look and feel of this whole like portal interface. But if you do, this is how you do it. So you do it through here, manage your links, and those links have the security trimming on them as well. So you can have those menu links at the top shown or hidden based on who's logged in. And that's really useful because once we hide the quick launch, we're going to want to put that administration page up here in a menu link as well. So we're going to be able to target that just to the owners group of the site, and that's going to allow just the owners to come in and hit that portal administration and see what it's all about. Now let me see here. Let's see, my team gave me a link, and this might. Nope, that's not what I need. All right. Hang on just 1 second. Okay, all right. So that is adding the look and feel, and hopefully I'll be able to show you that modern one before the end of the webinar today. But there are some other things we can talk about. So permissioning is going to be a big part of this, and we want to talk about how are people going to get access to the end user portal versus how are they going to get access to the things they need to get access to on the back end. Now, one of the things with SharePoint is that they are going to need to have some access to this back end in some way, shape, or form. And one way we've done this is to break inheritance. So we're going to be breaking inheritance on our site because you don't want your end users to have access to everything on whatever your backend application site is. So what you'll want to do is go through to the site settings and break inheritance. So go to site permissions. See, this one already has inheritance broken, and we can add in a group or one or more groups that'll have access to this site at some level. They'll have access to the different lists that they need. So essentially, anything you put out over here on your portal site is going to need to have they're going to need to have access to that corresponding resource on the back end. So in this case, we have a tickets list where we have a submit new ticket link. We have a couple different links here. They're going to need in some way, shape, or form, edit access on that tickets list. So we would go into our backend site. We could go to that tickets list directly. We could do that through site contents, probably the best way to do it. It's the easiest way. And they're going to need, it depends what was on that form to a degree as to what they need access to. So if you have lookup settings, lookup lists in your form, like we have category and issue type on our tickets form, they're going to need at least read access to that. So again, you'd have to come in here, go to your settings, go to permissions, break inheritance, and make sure that the group that those people are going to have, whatever that group is going to have access to this list as read only, right? You don't want them to change anything. You just want them to be able to read it so that they can pull it down in the drop down. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to choose a category. Any lookup you have on your form, any associated items you have on your form, you want to make sure that your users have at least read access on the backend site to those elements. Otherwise, it's not going to work for them, and they're going to get some kind of error. And so they need anything they need to contribute to or edit, they need to at least contribute access to that list. But again, you're only giving them access to those resources that they should see. You're only giving them access to those things that they're going to be needing to choose, and you can hide everything else. So all the other lists that reside in our backend over here can be hidden. And again, we simply do that by breaking inheritance, removing user permissions, and then we could come through in each of these lists and libraries that they need access to, give them that permission back, whether it's read or contribute or edit or whatever it might be. So those things can all be done where you're managing it across different sites. So how do you manage the group over here? Because each site collection and even each subsite could potentially have different groups related to them, right? So you're going to have each site collection has its own groups, and you're going to have, if you have these in different site collections, you're going to want to have a way to manage the users in that group. And one recommendation we have for that is you're going to have to create the two different SharePoint groups on the two different sites. You can give them the same name, whatever that is, end users could be the group. In this case, what we've done over here is on the site permissions. Let me go to site settings and site permissions. And we created this end user SharePoint group. You can see it's a SharePoint group. And we've put an Active Directory group in there. So you can manage your Active Directory group from one place. You can just go and manage it from AD so that your users will be consistent across both groups and across both site collections. So simply create a Active Directory group, put that Active Directory group in this SharePoint group on the back end, create a SharePoint group over here and put that same AD group in that SharePoint group. And now you'll be able to manage users and access to those resources from one place. So you don't have to do it with one group over here, one group over there. You can do it from that one Active Directory group to manage it. So that's how you would manage access from, getting access to the different elements. Now there's another access piece of this, because they do have some read access to the back end, they may at some point in time be able to go and at least see what some of the things are there. They might not be able to do a heck of a lot. They'll be blocked from a lot of things, and that might be enough. But at the same time, you want to make sure you redirect them to the portal and have them see only, if they try to access this site over here, our back end site over here, the IT professional site, you want to make sure that they get access only to that portal. So the way we do that is have a redirect, and you can do a redirect through the site settings, which is under, NITRO site settings, which is under site settings. So if we come over to our backend site, and again, this configuration is on the backend site, we can go to site settings. We can go to NITRO site settings, which should be under NITRO site administration. And there on this list here, you'll see there's a security settings element, and we're going to be able to select our IT professional site from our list here, and we're going to be able to target the URL. So we want to target this URL as what the users should go to. So we're going to copy that, go back to our site settings, and plop that in. Now that group you just created with the AD group to manage it across the different site collections, you can, you want to use the disallow. So essentially what that means is that group, so let's call it end users. So basically this group here, whoever's in that group, is going to be disallowed from accessing this site. Instead they're going to be redirected to this target URL. So that's one way you can do it from the backend site. There is the way you can do it from the backend site, especially if you have your sites living in different site collections. You're going to have to do it from the backend site. Now, if you have them in the same site collection, like we do for our IT portal and IT help desk, you could do the setting from either space, really. It doesn't really matter. It could be done from the portal side. It can be done from the backend side. It doesn't really matter. But if you're doing it across site collections, then you're going to want to do it from the backend application side to set the settings to redirect the users. So again, even though these users only have read-only access to a couple things and edit access to a couple things, you're still going to want to redirect them to the portal when they try to access that backend. So anytime they have a link to the backend by accident, or maybe they get a notification, whatever the case may be, maybe someone sends them a link to it, they're going to get redirected to the portal and they're not going to have access to the backend. So this is how you do it. Set up your security settings in the NITRO site settings to redirect your users. Now, if we come back over here, my team informs me we got site settings added. And let me just double check. I'm not sure if we did. Let me go back here. Oh, we did get it added. Okay, well, that's good. And in this way, what we can do is set up our menu items at the top. So let's say we wanted to do that submit new link. We do submit new ticket. So just give it a couple links up here, do a pop-up dialog, and we're going to show that for everyone. And that URL is going to be again over here in our form, NITRO forms. Make sure you have that available, or you can get back to it pretty quickly. And then you can come over and pop that in to your link. So that becomes a menu link at the top. And then we can do another new item. We'll get a link to that view my ticket screen, so we can go and get that URL. Before we start configuring that setting, we can come over to the view my tickets URL. We can open that in a new tab and directly get the link to it from there, from the URL bar, and we'll add it in. So view my tickets. Again, we can put that in the same tab, new tab, however you want to do it, and we can specify users. And now finally, we can come to our administration page and get that URL. Oops. And come back over here, ask for the same page. I could have just got it from the top, but that's okay. And we'll pop that into the URL. Portal. And then this one we'll want to specify the owners group, or NITRO workshops. Not coming up with the owners, but that's okay. I'll just pull up one of them. And now you can set your settings around that. So what we do have is security settings on this site. Like I mentioned, you can, if your sites are in the same site collection, you can set up the security settings through the NITRO site settings on this site, the IT portal site. But again, if they're in different site collections, you'll want to use it from the back end. Okay. So now we configure those. We'll go ahead and make sure we save those settings. And now if I refresh, yeah, there we go. Okay, now it's giving me that look and feel. I didn't hide the header, so I can go back to my branding and hide that header in the modern branding. All right, let's go ahead and hide that header. Hide that, save settings. And there we go. So now we can come back to our home page over here. And you can see we're starting to get those elements that we had on our portal over here. Just with a few more tweaks, a few more web parts, add in maybe another list view web part over here. This is a quick tickets. We got that search bar already on there. So basically, this page here in 40 minutes, we were able to create, and even with some some snafus and things like that, we're able to come in here and create something that starting to look like a regular, like a portal we would deploy with one of our out-of-the-box programs. So you can take those same concepts. You can take apply those apply those web parts to the page, create new pages, create your menu links at the top, and you're going to be able to go through and click through to each of those. I'd have to see how I get rid of that header, but it's not really causing any problems other than a look and feel issue. But you can hide those headers on page-by-page basis as well if you need to. But essentially, you can see now you've got all those elements to build out a portal like this in any site that has Nitro activated on it. So you just need a couple different sites with Nitro, have your backend site application that you design, and then you can go and build your portal on top of that in the same site collection, in a different site collection, classic UI, modern UI, all those things are possible. So with that, any questions on anything we've covered so far? If there's any questions, you can pop them into the box. If you have any comments or things you want to go over or cover that I didn't, maybe anything you want to look at, we can do that. While I'm waiting for any comments to come in or questions, I'll just give you an insight into what's coming up with Nitro and with these workshops. So we have upcoming in the Nitro workshop world, we'll be talking about well, we did this one today. We're talking about using the portal. And next one is going to be introducing this custom actions designer. I'm going to show you a brief preview of this before the end of the webinar. So if you want to hang on and take a look at that, I'll show that what that custom actions designer looks like. Some of you who've attended our webinars have seen this to some degree, but I'm going to show it again, and because I think it's a really great feature that we've added into Nitro. So I'll give you a little preview on that one. That's coming up September 1st. We'll go into it in detail, and we'll have a whole webinar devoted to it. We're also going to be talking about invoking web services, so a feature that some of you have used, but maybe others haven't been super familiar with. We're going to talk about invoking web services, and that's actually going to be pretty, it's good. I'm going to learn a lot because I don't use the web services all that often. So that's going to be great for me, and I think it's going to be great for you guys, for the users of Nitro, to understand how you can use web services in your processes. And then we're going to be talking about using query lists for kind of a for each loop. So we'll talk about those few things coming up over the next couple months. We got September, and then we have October, a couple in October that we'll be doing. We're also going to be looking at some upcoming webinars. Tomorrow, we're talking about moving away from InfoPath to NITRO Studio. A number of customers have already done that. I think some of you on the call have done that already. And it's, we're going to show public at large, whoever's attending that webinar, this is how you do it. This is what it looks like, and it's a great, I show you how Nitro really presents itself as a fantastic option for replacing InfoPath. So the other thing here, we did have a question about this being presented. Yes, this video will be up on our website once we're all done here. We have all of our previous workshops listed here. You can see all the past workshops on this page. And we talked about recent enhancements. We talked about SMS texting. We talked about general administration. So all these things that we maybe don't cover in great detail or at all in Nitro training. These things we try to cover in the workshops, kind of fill in some of those gaps, and give you the information you need to use Nitro to its fullest potential. And so this video will be included in that, and it's going to be added to our list of past workshops once we get it rendered and available, and we'll send you a link to it. With that, the one other thing I want to point out to you is the community forum that we have. We have the .help site, and we have the community forum, which I know a number of you have been participating in already. We appreciate that. Anyone who hasn't joined up with the forum, please feel free to do so, and you can come in and add your comments, add your questions, and we monitor it. Other users monitor it, so you can help each other, learn from each other, and that kind of thing. But one thing, before we go, because I did promise I would show it to you, is the custom actions designer. And certainly any questions you have about the content we presented today or anything that we're going over, feel free to pop into the questions box. We'll happy to answer it. So I'm going to go to our Nitro apps page here. I'm going to open up Custom Actions Designer eventually. So in the Custom Actions Designer, you'll see that the look and feel is a little different. So instead of having all of your lists, a drop down of your list and custom actions only visible for each list at a time, now you're going to be able to see all of the custom actions across all the lists that you have in your site. And then when you create a new custom action, you have an option to do the legacy mode, which is the standard way you do it today. If you haven't updated Nitro, if you're on-prem, you will be getting this update. I promise it's going to be coming out this week. There will be an update for on-premises Nitro to get this designer interface. So if you're on-premises, you'll still see just the legacy, but if once you get the update, you'll see this designer interface. And yes, the on-premises update will be coming this week. That is, we're hoping to get it released by tomorrow or yeah, we're going to release by tomorrow or Friday. And yes, there is going to be a list. You'll see all the custom actions that you've created across all lists within your particular site. Now it is a site-by-site thing, so you'll see everything for that one particular site for all custom actions that have been created. And they'll start showing up as legacy. I think I actually, if I show you real quickly, this is what it's going to look like for you when you update. If you already have custom actions that you've created, and we go to purchase request, because I just updated this one, I can show you what it looks like. And I'll do, yeah, go here. And it doesn't matter where you can come into it from, you could do custom actions through NITRO Studio. There's still gonna be a custom actions link on each of the list settings pages, but it's still gonna bring you to the common interface here, where you can see the different lists. In this case, there's only one list here, but if we had multiple lists, they would be listed out, and you'd be able to see all the different custom actions you've created across the different lists in your site. What does the designer look like? So this is, the interface that that you'll now have if you want to use the designer interface. And just like the forms designer, it's a drag and drop type of interface where you can come in and drop in directly what type of action you want to create, and then you go and add your configurations to that. So we have options where you could do it, add all the standard options that you've seen before with custom actions. We can move things around. We can get rid of these gateways if we want to move things around. We could just kind of like reverse these if you wanted to. Pop this one in here, create a new link, and you'll be able to visually see kind of where your flow is going as you go through the process. Now, the configuration screen of it is going to be pretty much the same as what you see today, so that's not going to change all that much. You will notice that the conditions disappear. The conditions aren't going to be there. And the way we do the conditions now is through this gateway option, where you have a kind of two different ways you can go with it. So you can have the gateway go one direction, and then you can have the gateway go in another direction. So we could create that connector, add it over here. And now we have a different path that we're going down. And then we could reconnect back into the same path eventually if we wanted to. So we do add list item over here and then add a new item over here, and kind of play around with the arrows to have it go the way you want it to go. But yeah, that's kind of a quick insight into what it looks like. I think it's really a great option for building out these custom actions and seeing what they look like, what the flow looks like. These red boxes will go away as you start configuring things and going through it, which I'll go through in detail on our webinar on this. In when was it? It's coming up on September 1st. So yeah, a few weeks. So we'll be going through all that. And we'll go through in detail, kind of show you the different things that we have with the, variables, the same concept we've had, the conditions, the settings. It's kind of moved. All the settings pages have moved over here. So, different things. I'll walk through all those different elements with publishing and version history and importing and all that. And we'll go through any questions you have on that. But of course, if you have any questions on it now, happy to answer them. But that is a quick kind of preview insight into what we're going to be doing with Custom Actions Designer. This will be coming out for the workflow as well. So we have the custom actions and the workflows. This is there for the custom actions today. It'll be there for the workflows. We're targeting before the end of the year, like maybe around Christmas time. We'll have, hopefully earlier, but we'll have the workflow designer piece of this as well. So it'll be both things, the custom actions and the workflows. And this is going to give us a way to add in other things to our workflows, where you could do for each loops, do while loops, that kind of stuff is going to be all incorporated into this eventually. So keep an eye on that. We'll be adding on features, and it kind of gives you, takes Nitro to the next level, and that's why we put it as Nitro version 2.0. When you go and update your Nitro to version 2.0 or above, you'll see this designer interface. So I think that covers it. Scott, Amanda, anything you guys want to add to the conversation?
Nope, that was very thorough.
Okay, fantastic. All right, well, great. This recording will be up on the website soon, hopefully probably by the end of today or tomorrow. And if you have any questions or any follow-up comments, feel free to interact with us. Any workshop suggestions as well, we're happy to field those. If you go through our list of workshops and you don't see a topic that you wanted to cover in detail, reach out to me. I'm always available, james.restivo@crookhaven.com. And just let me know what you want to see. But yeah, otherwise, I think I think it's going to give you a great, not only with the custom actions designer, give you a great tool set, but building out portals like this will give you a great tool set to have interfaces for your end users to interact with. And hopefully you can go and use this today to build out portals for people to use. So again, appreciate everyone coming on today to join us for this workshop. And I hope everyone has a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Thank you.